welcome everybody. Here we are again in our weekly teacher refresher course. We're very happy to be doing this with you weekly. And today we have a very special guest. Let me share. Give me just 1 second. And here we are. Right, fantastic. So here we are. Right, so today we're going to be talking about training listening skills for Cambridge B2 birth certificate exams. Okay, so the idea, this is not working, sorry, no. So as usual, you will receive a certificate of participation and a webinar handout in the next few days. If you don't receive it, please email us at formazione@mlaworld.com. Don't worry about the slides. The handout will contain all the important information from this webinar, plus useful links and any worksheets that we show. And basically, we're going to be talking about how to train listening skills for students, and in particular, students aiming to get a Cambridge First B2 certificate. And they generally have problems and they fail listening part 3 quite regularly. So what can we do about it? But before we get started, I would like to introduce my special guest today. Joel, I think you are muted. Here you are. Right. And he's going to talk to us about the importance of Cambridge exams. Please introduce yourself. Let us know.
Thank you, Ruth. I hope you can hear me okay.
I can.
Jolly good. Good afternoon, good evening to you all. I'm very pleased to be here. My name is Joel Cutting, and as you can see from the slide, I'm the country manager for Cambridge University Press and Assessment in both the United Kingdom and in the Republic of Ireland. And I'm here really to endorse the partnership that we now have with MLA and the exciting new pathway opportunity that exists for the learners. Shall we move to the next slide, Ruth?
I know I am trying.
Thank you. So let's just recap some of the things that it's worth bearing in mind. English, of course, really does help to fulfill the potential of the children of the world. And for the reasons really shown on the screen, it creates opportunities for them in their future studies and in the world of work further down the line. In terms of technology and media, it's obviously a very important thing, and it enables the cultural exchange and the growth of relationships, all of which fit in together with the Cambridge values, which you can see on the screen there. So the relatively new, or recent rather, merger of Cambridge's assessment body and publishing house means that we can now enhance further our integrated approach to learning and assessment, which is something that MLA is able to facilitate through not only the exams, but the course preparation as well. We're very proud of the heritage, and this is further backed up by the number of users of Cambridge exams worldwide. You can see the numbers in front of you there. And not only is it that the exams are taken in a wide number of locations by a huge number of people, but they're also very widely recognised throughout education and industry. And we've got evidence, as you can see on the screen there, that supports the deeper learning, the improvement and building of students' confidence through the exams, and the motivating effect that these exams have both on students and, I would argue, on educators as well. So you'll probably be aware that these are a pathway of discrete level exams in line with the Common European Framework. And the ones in focus here are the ones that are particularly designed for young learners, aged 11 and plus, 11 and over. Exams that are research-based and are designed to develop skills that are required for communication in the real world, to build the confidence that we've talked about with authentic content. There's a snapshot on the screen now of institutions, higher education institutions in the English-speaking world, which accept Cambridge English qualifications as proof of sufficient English. And another snapshot, a sample of corporate recognition, some well-known organisations who use Cambridge English qualifications to accept an English level. The exams have been designed to test all of the basic skills. And the Cambridge English scale provides a granular breakdown for the candidate in addition to the Common European Framework, which enables them to understand in further detail their performance and helps them to set the goals for future study. So that really is just a snapshot. There's some links on the slides there that you'd be able to follow later in order to find further support. But as I said at the start, we're very excited to be partnering with MLA on this and to have been able to partner MLA with our Platinum Exam Centre partners in the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland. Thank you,
Thank
Ruth.
you, Joel. Thanks a lot. We're very proud to be offering Cambridge exam preparation courses and also the prospect of sitting the exam in their stay, during their stay in summer with us in the UK. So we're very excited about this partnership as well. Thanks very much for your time and a clear explanation.
Looking forward to working with you more on it. All the best.
Right, so let's get started with the teacher refreshments. Now, in this session, let me take a look. Right, don't worry, Antonella, because I'm going to be checking the chats, okay? So if you write to formazione@mlaworld.com, you will get your handouts if you haven't received it. And if you are interested in receiving the information that we deliver in these sessions, along with your certificates, if you have attended. So by the end of this session, we hope that teachers will be better able to help their students enhance their active listening skills, as well as promoting speaking activities in their listening lessons, because it's always a good opportunity. And adapt Cambridge First B2 Listening Part 3 exam material to create a communicative class and help students get better results. Let's explore how we're going to be able to cover those two things. So active listening. Now, this is an honest question for you as teachers. So do your students listen to each other? Or do they take a turn to speak and the other way silently for her or his turn? I mean, is it respectful listening or is it active listening? I think if we're lucky, they will listen carefully. Any ideas? What do your students do? I mean, in my experience, my students generally, when we are training listening, you ask them a question, one of them speaks, the other one listens, and then they take it in turns. Is that what happens to you? Please let us know in the chat. So there is a very big difference between being respectful or truly listening. Let's remember that teenagers are not interested in the language, they're interested in the activity. So the idea is to give them something to do. We need to give them a purpose for listening. Otherwise, they will switch off. They will just not listen to their partner. Let's talk about what listening skills are. When do we say that someone is listening? And how do we show that we are listening to someone? Let's check the chats. Let's see what you're saying. They don't wait for others in silence. True. Now, how can we? That's so true, especially teenagers, because they switch off. So we need to give them a purpose. Otherwise, they don't have a purpose for listening. Why would you listen if you're a teenager and you don't have the right activity? So that's what we need to think about to try and improve this in terms of classroom management. Let's think that listening skills are not passive, they're active skills. So it is really hard to remember what we heard unless we play an active part in the conversation. We have something to say, and there is some information that we need or want to know about what the other person is saying. If we don't have any information that we need to try and remember, that we need to try and spot, it's quite difficult. Listening is communicative, so it's important in the conversation. And the idea is to try and focus on the authentic role of listening in a communicative act to train the skill. And this is valid for both the students' communication in their L1 in Italian, in your case, and in English. They need to learn to listen to each other. And the rule number one, I would say, to train students to succeed at listening exercises for Cambridge exams is focus on listening and forget about the correct answer in the exercise. We'll look at that at the end. Let me check the chat again because you generally have really good comments. They're interested in the activity. That's what we're saying here, Isabella. They are not interested in listening to other classmates. So what can we do about that? You're not alone. It's happened to each and every one of us. So the challenge with listening tasks is that they're generally very far away from conversations. Students are asked to overhear a conversation, and this is very unnatural. Actually, when you overhear someone else's conversation, that's considered to be rude. It's not polite. You don't actually overhear what other people are talking about. And that's exactly what we have to do in listening tasks. So let's try and make them more authentic. The problem with them is that they are result orientated. So obviously this is frustrating because if you don't get the right results, you think you didn't understand anything. And they tend to switch off as well. Students, when they see they are not successful, they get disheartened and then they get frustrated and they stop listening. Let's focus on the process. So let's not focus on the correct answer. Let's start from the beginning. The way we can do this is setting up the context. It is very important before a listening task. We need the context. Our students generally know something about the topic and they can start predicting what they may hear. They can start predicting vocabulary, different opinions. If we start a class by just playing a recording, they'll probably switch off because they don't know anything about it. But if we get them started into the topic, their brains and their attention will be ready. So, for example, our listening task today is about weekend jobs for teenagers. Now, we need to give them a purpose for listening. How can we give them a purpose for listening? Let's explore this in detail. Now, in setting the context, we can give them a few questions. For example, would you like to have a weekend job? What are the advantages and disadvantages of it? Do teenagers generally have a weekend job in Italy? Now, again, we've got the questions. How do we make them listen to each other? They're also overhearing. That's really interesting, Teresa, that they're fond of reality shows, so they always overhearing conversation. But I never thought of that. I think that's great training, actually. There's something good coming out of reality shows. Now, we've got the tasks, we've got the questions. How do we make them listen to each other? So, in pairs, students need to write at least 3 advantages and disadvantages. Do they have the same or different opinions and why? So when they start talking about their opinion and the purpose is to listen to their partner to see whether they're the same or different. Now, difficult teenagers, what we can do with them is to move them to a different partner and compare again so they have another purpose. It keeps their memory activated because we're going to ask them about their partner's answers and they know we're going to ask them directly. We're not going to ask them about what they think, about their opinion. They've already shared that. So the feedback should be about their partners, never about themselves. Now, you need to teach some vocabulary if necessary. Generally, the listening tasks are a level above. Okay, so we can produce less that we can understand. That's how we generally learn languages and how we develop in language learning. So we know that students will probably make common mistakes for the level. So we need to listen to the listening track we're going to play. And we need to take this opportunity to remind them about, for example, in the case of jobs, the word job and work, the difference between the words fun and funny. That's something that we can truly do with them so they will spot the right answer. And then there's an opportunity to teach vocabulary as well. So let's give them new words that we'll encounter in the listening exercise. Like these, for example, badly paid job, office work, part-time work, these type of words. And Since listening is part of speaking, we're going to give them a chance to talk together again. So look at the different jobs below, and this time we're going to encourage them to use the words that we taught. Now we're giving them a purpose. We're turning this into a sort of game. Don't forget your purpose for listening to each other. How many of the words that we have just given you has your partner used? So they'll be listening carefully to their partner because they need to count how many words they have used. So the way I set it up is I give students 1 minute to look and memorize the words. So they have that list of words, they look at them for 1 minute, and then they cannot look at them. Now, I'm going to give them 1 minute to talk about the pictures without looking at the words, and I will time it. So they're going to be in pairs. Time starts, they need to talk about the pictures, and they need to use as many words as possible. Student A doesn't look at the words and speaks about different jobs. And student B gives them a point for each word they have used. So now this is not only encouraging them to speak and listen for a purpose, but it's also activating their memory. So we're enhancing their memory skills, which is something that we always want to do when we teach vocabulary. And we can swap roles and do it again. So then it could be made into a competition. Let's try and make a game of it. So for example, we've got different pairs, okay? So A, B, A, B, A, B. So I allocate some are A's, some are B's. Then A's look at the pictures, B's look at the words. Give them 1 minute. The one looking at the words checks. And this is a good way that has worked really well for me in terms of training students to listen to each other. Now, let's, do you have any questions so far? Any comments? I'll be checking the chat. So please do let me know. And don't forget that everything will be in the handout ready for you to start using, including the actual task. So you can use this task or you can adapt any task from your books. Okay, so now, Cambridge First B2 Part 3. That listening task is quite challenging. Do you know which one this is? Are you familiar with it? Please let me know. Are you familiar with part 3 of the listening task in Cambridge B2? Now, once the students are activated in the topic and they're ready to listen, we've done this, they've practiced their speaking, they've acquired new vocabulary, they know they're going to come across this vocabulary, because let's remember, we're preparing them to do the exam. So then we can set up the listening task, but still we need to change it from result to process, okay? So what is part 3 of the test? Anybody? And why is it difficult for students? So this is one of the most difficult parts because you over here 5 different speakers talking about a topic. And you have 8 sentences. So you need to match each speaker to one sentence. So speaker 5 is sentence A, speaker 2 is sentence F, and of course there are 5 speakers, 8 sentences, so there are 3 sentences they do not need to use. Why do you think they fail so regularly? Any ideas? You're very quiet today. That's fine. Okay, so the main problem is that there may be a chain effect. So if you get 1 answer wrong, you are very likely to get 2 answers wrong. And if you get 2, you're very likely to get 3. So there is a chain effect because there are 8 sentences and you need to choose 5. Okay? Now, you will overhear 5 teenagers talking about their weekend job. Choose from the list A to H what is the reason each speaker gives for doing their weekend job. Use the letters only once. There are 3 extra letters you do not need to use. Very clear. Still, we need to explain these to students when we are preparing them for the exam. We don't want them to turn up in the exam and then having to understand the task. They need to have the techniques. So they need to know what they're facing. They know, hey, Now it is the part where I have to choose from these 8 sentences. So if we, let's do it. Let's do a little bit of it together. Are you ready? Now, would you like to see the sentences before listening? For teachers, since absolutely, yeah, it is tough. Absolutely, I agree. So you would like to see the sentences, right? Fantastic. That's exactly what your students will want. They will want to see the sentences before they start listening. But in order to train them correctly, I'm sorry, I'm not going to let them do that. I'm not going to show them the sentences because that will be how we focus the training on results, and we want to focus on the process so that they are able to gain this confidence. Of course, we want to see them. Unfortunately, that's not going to be possible. So, what do? We boost our students' confidence if we don't ask them to choose the right answer from the very beginning. Let's remember, this is training, this is not the exam itself. So, let's focus on the process. Sentences are generally confusing, they are full of distractors. So, that's going to make them fail, and that's going to crush their confidence a little. Now, we need to focus on what we understand. They need to focus on what they understand, not what they can't hear or they cannot understand. That's a main cause of frustration. And we can make it a speaking activity. So let's try and make it natural. Right. Let me play it.
Track 21.
Can you hear it?
You will hear 5 short
Please let me know in the
extracts in which young people are talking about their weekend job. Choose from the list A to H the reason each speaker gives for doing their weekend job. Use the letters only once. There are 3 extra letters which you do not need to use. Speaker 1.
I've got a job in a department store on Saturdays. I'm on the first floor, in the men's clothing. One of my friends works there too, but I hardly ever see him because he's upstairs on the 3rd floor. The work isn't exciting, but at least it's not difficult. It isn't a very well-paid job, but then lots of weekend jobs aren't. And at least it gives me a bit of cash to spend when I go out with my mates. Mind you, I don't have much time to party because I have schoolwork to do as well. In the future, I'd like to try to find a better paid job so that I can save for driving lessons. I can't wait to learn to drive. It'd be great fun.
Right. So what do you think of it? I think it's quite challenging, isn't it? Thank you for letting me know that you were able to hear it. So imagine we play all the 5 different extracts, because there are 5 speakers, in one go. They need to remember and they need to choose the sentences. That'd be very, very daunting. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to ask them, we're going to put them in pairs. They're going to listen to speaker 1, and they're going to take notes about what they say to try and reconstruct the listening. Okay? Speaker 1, they take notes. What did I understand? So that's kind of a shift. Instead of focusing on, oh my God, I didn't understand anything, this will be an opportunity for them to pick on different words, and then collaboratively, they're going to try and build the meaning. Now, my questions here, I prepare the questions for them, is what job are they talking about? Is it a good job? What's good and what's not good about it? Why did they decide to take the job? Do they like it or not, and why? Of course, they're not going to be able to pick everything, but they'll be able to reconstruct a little bit of it. Then I stop the listening after speaker 1, and I ask my students to talk to the partner about what they understood, not about what they don't know. And I'm not going to tell them the answer. I'm not even going to show the potential answers yet. I'm just going to focus on their understanding of it. So after speaker 1, I'll do the same with speaker 2, then the same with speaker 3, then the same with speaker 4, then the same with speaker 5. And that's how I'm activating their listening skills along with their speaking skills. Because after they have taken a note of what they understood in all speakers, then I'm going to ask them to talk to their partner about it. And once they have finished discussing about all the speakers, we can ask the students to read the sentences and individually make a potential decision. Now they don't need to talk to their partner. They've reconstructed the listening with the aid of the partner. We've created a speaking activity. They've managed to build their confidence because there are things they understand. And this is something I always tell them in the actual exam. Take notes, summarize the important information. So when they have to make a decision at the end, they do remember speaker 1 after speaker 5. Because that's quite hard in a foreign language, I would say. We can change partner and talk about answers, then why they chose that letter, why they choose a different letter. You can keep them moving, changing partners and exchanging ideas. At the end, they all very interested in it. They really want to get the right answer because I'm not giving it to them. So these are the sentences. You only heard one short extract from the first one. Okay, so speaker 1, I don't think we even remember it anymore. Now, even before I give them the answers, let's take a look. I'm really evil. I don't want to give them the answers until the end because I really want them to be able to work them out. I think this is very encouraging. It boosts their confidence again. And it's a great way for them to dissect the activity, for them to have something to do all the time. There are no answers. I have to work it out. And they're going to give me, my teacher is going to set up different activities for me to scaffold that discovery. So we've listened to it, we've taken notes, we've discussed it, we've even changed partners and discussed them again. Now I read the sentences, I make my own choice, and then again, I discuss with others why. Why is speaker 1 C, D, E, until we reach an agreement. And this is really important because it's really going to help us in the speaking part as well. So now, once they have made their decisions, they've spoken to everybody, they think they have the right answer, I don't give them the answers. I will give them the transcript. This way, I can also focus on reading skills. So now, individually, they're going to have to find the answer in the transcript. Then again, once they have done it individually, they can do it in pairs, because reading, of course, is an individual task. And in pairs, they will find where the correct answer is and underline it. If the answer with the transcript is now different, imagine, oh, then I didn't understand it correctly. This is a really good opportunity for self-correction, for noticing the gap between what there actually is, what's correct in English, and what I understand and I did incorrectly. So they can check, oh, my answer was this one because I didn't understand this word, for example. And I wouldn't answer any vocabulary questions until the end. Students need to tolerate this uncertainty because they will not be able to understand everything in the listening. It's impossible, not in the reading. As I said at the beginning, receptive skills are actually bigger than productive skills. So, you know, when I actually help my students tolerate that they might not understand a word and still get the right answer and find the right answer, that's a learning opportunity. And then when I actually explain the words they want at the end, they really want to learn it. So that motivation enhances memory, which is very important as well. Scanning technique, definitely, absolutely. I think here we're looking at detailed understanding, but scanning is really important for gist, and that's what we did at the beginning. We were scanning the information at the beginning, remember? So they had to just take a note of that important information in each and every listening. Speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3. Here, I want them to look for detail. to actually find the answer because they've worked on it for a while, Gaetano. And so they really want to learn the word. Really, are you sure? Do you really want it? And that's when I give it to them. Now, these are the answers. Speaker one was A. It was easy to do. There are other drawbacks. We didn't have much time for you to actually have a go at it. But please feel free to do it when you get the handout because it's actually there. Now, at the end, I will check the answers with them, definitely. Are there any different or similar? Are your answers different or similar to the answers that you found in the transcript? My experience is that after all this work I've been doing with them, they very rarely need any extra help. And then clarify the vocabulary, as I said earlier. Check if it is important to understand general meaning and do the task successfully or not. Sometimes it's not necessary, and sometimes, unfortunately, that word they didn't understand is key to get the right answer. So the benefits of this, I think there are plenty of benefits because we're focusing on the process and not the result. However, there is a very big impact on results. Once they have been trained to do this several times, they tend to succeed at part 3 and they're not scared of it anymore because they know they will understand parts of it. And for you as a teacher. So the benefits of this approach is that they can relax. They will, we'll not give them the answers. They need to discover them. So there is cognitive engagement. They tend to zoom out less. They'll have to focus. They have to. Otherwise, they cannot move on. Motivation. They really want to know the answer. That's key. If they are motivated, they will get there. They can notice a gap. They realize what they did and didn't understand. And that's important, not only for what they didn't understand, but particularly for what they did, so that we can lower that affective filter. We can, lower that frustration that comes when you don't understand because it's fast. I always say that if my friends spoke to me at the pace people speak in the listening tracks for Cambridge B2, I would say, stop, hold on, don't talk to me like that. Just give me a minute to process, just slow down. So it is important that we train them to tolerate that. And then communication, they have been speaking English and listening for a reason all throughout the lesson. So it's not only exams orientated. And as a teacher, you can observe your students a lot because they will be doing something all the time. As a teacher, we prepare a lot, but then the students do the work in class. We don't have to do that work. They are in charge of working, and they take ownership of their own learning. We can diagnose as well. We can identify what made it difficult for our students to get the right answer. Oh, it was this. So maybe I need to teach modal verbs because they didn't get the modal verbs here. And we can identify distractors. So by planning ahead, we can actually identify what's a distractor in the exam and train our students to spot distractors, because that definitely leads to success. Please let me know if you have any questions so far. Now we've come to an end. So the conclusion, listening is part of speaking, and we can use listening tasks to practice speaking. Let's do that, because otherwise it's hard to listen only. We need to be able to embed it into speaking activities. Listening as a process will have an impact on better results. As I explained earlier, they gain the confidence, they focus on what they understand and what they know, therefore they'll be more likely to get the right answer. If they're not focusing on what they understand, they get frustrated, they switch off, and they stop understanding. They block completely. Now, when students listen with a communicative purpose, their results are more successful. And we can do that, particularly in the exam, by asking them to take a note of where they understood. What is this about? What are they talking about? And teenagers are interested in the activity, not the language. I think this is something we do need to remember. Again, teachers prepare and students do. Let's change that teacher-centered focus onto a student-centered version of this. When we feel responsible for each and everyone's learning, we get very, very tired. And the results, and sometimes frustrated. I feel as a teacher that I got very frustrated because I thought I had to make it happen. And the idea is to design things for them to make it happen. They need to want to learn it, and they need to have a path to enact their skills. But it's up to them. So it's about us preparing, them doing, us listening, us reacting to what's happening. Yes, the advantage for students is that they are allowed to listen to the task twice. That's a very good point, actually. And it is a very good point because in the first one, they take notes, and in the second one, they compare and add. And only then they go to the answers. Because if they look at the answers first, they're going to get very, very distracted. Now, thank you very much. We've come to an end. It's been a great pleasure. I'm so sorry this has gone very, very fast. I hope you found it useful and you took something from it. I hope it helped, and I would like to encourage you to try and see if it works for you. Now, you will get your certificates and also the handout with the actual tasks, the pictures, so you can actually use them and put them in motion and then let us know. Now, any suggestions? We have plenty of ideas for future webinars, but we welcome your ideas. It truly helps us understand what the majority of teachers face and what challenges we come across. And then us together in the academic team try and put what we know with our expertise and years of practice, of teaching practice. And then when you make comments and you let us know what you need, what you find more exciting, more useful. We learn a lot from you, and we really want to do that as well. We're all teachers, and we're in a learning path. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. If you have any other ideas, please do let us know. Now, you will receive a certificate of participation by email soon. Please contact us at formazione@mlaworld.com if you don't receive it in the next week. Someone asked me about this at the beginning of the session because they couldn't attend. Please do email us and we'll send it to you. There is an accompanying handout containing the worksheets and activities used in this webinar, as well as some useful links. It will be in the email with your certificate. Again, if you don't receive it, contact us. And our next webinar will be next week, sorry. And instead of Tuesday, as today and last week, it will be again on Thursday, 24th of October, Halloween in the classroom. And we hope you will join us again very, very soon. Have a lovely evening, and I hope to see you again here next week. Bye-bye.